Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett. I forgot to get her a nut, so we don't know. It is high noon, actually 12:11 on Sunday. It is beautiful outside. It rained all night, so so it's pretty wet outside. So I can't really mow the lawn, which like if you live in this area and you don't want a jungle in your yard, and you don't want to pay like a ton of money for people to come in and take care of your yard, then mowing the lawn becomes a hobby, you know. And I actually do enjoy it, but I think it's because I have like a battery operated lawnmower, a Ryobi, and it is light and it's quiet, and you don't smell like anything after you're done. So it's really easy just to go out and mow the lawn for like 20, 25 minutes. So it just kind of has become like a daily routine this time of year. But anyways, so I noticed yesterday when we were talking about the API that we do have something called grammars, and that was one thing that I'd never really dealt with, or I don't really understand what the point of it is. So, like, I remember when my youngest son was a little kid. He was teeny. He was probably 4 years old, and he was talking about like he got in the car one day and he said, can you guys go ahead and put on the cartoon radio station? And we're like, yeah, what? Well, that's ridiculous. What kind of crazy thought is that? There's no such thing as a cartoon. And he goes, okay, well, the children's, and it's like, why? Why would you think that? What were you thinking? And it's like, well, every other aspect of his life, there was a cartoon version of it, like TV and internet and games and everything. There was like a cartoon version. So, why would there not be a cartoon version? It made sense. Like, this is a way information comes to us, and all the other ways that information comes to us, there's a cartoon version. So, but he kind of came up with this outlandish, crazy thing that doesn't exist. And so, in my mind, when I try to imagine what grammars are for, I would think that they are for like let's say you're doing a calculator application, and the people can only enter numbers from 0 to 9. Then you could set up the grammars and only provide 0 to 9, and it would only allow those. So it'd be a way to limit the possibilities of what you're saying. So like I think the application that I want to build based on this technology is going to be like say hello, and basically it's going to be you'll be able to say hello in any language, like hundreds of languages, and you could try it and it'll tell you whether it recognized whether you said hello or not. I think that would be really cool and really fun, and maybe I can even like go live on TikTok and try to recruit people to either through Discord or through Teams or something say hello for me and record it, and then have that as like a piece of media that people can listen to, for example. So it just could be a lot of fun. Be fun to meet people, and see what other kind of people are interested in. Say hello and just see where it goes from there. And it would probably be a fun sort of social TikTok thing. But anyways, I don't know what grammars are for, so ask ChatGPT. Like if you want to know what the official reasoning behind something is, usually ChatGPT is a great place to go. I am writing code in using the voice API on the browser, and I am curious what the grammars property is all about. So one reason I do this, like kind of get sort of rabbit holed on purpose and stuff like that, is because like these are learning opportunities, and like over my career, literally probably hundreds of thousands of learning opportunities have been presented to me, and for the most part early in my career I sort of just let them go because I was trying to get things done. And now I'm trying to enjoy. I'm trying to smell the roses, I guess would be a way to put that. Set expected phrases or patterns using speech grammar. Speech grammar list narrows a possible. Okay, so it narrows down optional. So is more likely to pick up these words if correctly spoken. So okay, so the idea is that if you expected people to say red, blue, or green, and someone said something that that could be construed, could sound like blue or something else. So, for example, blue or true, then the speech API gives more weight to blue than true. Exactly, that's the idea. When you define red, blue, and the higher confidence matches. Okay, so yeah, so if you were doing like a calculator, then and someone says 7, and the thing it kind of sounds like even, like they said even, or maybe the name Evan, or something like that. It knows, okay, yeah. So those are words that we don't expect. It's like you're setting the context of, like, like if you were in some area and you could smell smoke and someone spelled fire, you would be like, someone yelled fire. You wouldn't be like, oh, did they say hire? Are they trying to hire someone for a job? Because you're like, oh, I smell smoke. Yeah, they probably said fire. So I guess that's the general idea. So it would be fun to experiment with that. So maybe we'll circle back around at the end and go into here and in this setup allow you to add grammars to it and then see like if we add, like, one of the ones that always comes up is thing. I think whenever I say thing, it often thinks I said sing. But maybe if I have a grammar and thing is in there, a grammar list, and the thing is in there and sing isn't, maybe it'll be like, oh, okay, you said thing. I don't know. That would be a guess. It'd be interesting to try out. And yeah, so maybe we'll circle back and have like one bonus round where we go back and that's a thing that we try. But let's try it real quick. Thing. So it said thing, but see, it says there's 6 things, and it actually says 58% chance confidence that I said thing, but it says 61% that I said sing. And so, and then you see also that it thinks I might have said the last name sing. So that's a perfect example. Like, let's say we were just trying to collect names. We were like, okay, there's different names that we're trying to collect, and sing is one of, we want to know if they're in one of 3 families, and sing is one of the 3 families. And it heard thing, it would be like, okay, yeah, we don't have a family name thing. They must have meant sing. So, anyways, so there's that. So now I will say that I have had a lot of trauma. Okay, well, no, let me say this. Let me go before I get there. I'm going to say that if I was like working in a place and this is what we were working on and all that, I would call this feature complete. Like, we're done with features. It does everything it's supposed to do, but it's not complete. Like, so, like, at the very, very least, expected and found just is not an appropriate result here. We need to like have at least like expect some kind of icon, some kind of color, something to make it a little bit easier to understand, because that's just weird. But I would like to do, I want to do a table, an angular material table. And and the main reason is because that I've experienced a lot of like having to implement angular material tables, but it was just layers and layers of abstractions in a ton of different ways. So like once you like trying to understand what anything is doing is just damn near impossible. So this is fairly straightforward. So what I would like to do is do an angular material table. So something we did before, and I guess we're going to go ahead and redo it, is we had two tables that were side by side. And so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to have the angular material table on the right side and this table on the left side. So to do that, we're going to do a div. And inside of that div, we're going to have another table. And for now, all it's going to have is one row and one data cell. And it's going to say future home of material table. And then I'm going to do an inline style.
Right.
And it's going to be display. And it's going to be flex. And what that will do is it should show our two tables side by side. Yep. So here's one table, here's our other table. Now, eventually what will happen is I want to just have my Angular table, my Angular material table here, and this one will go away. Eventually we'll, but you know, at least we'll be able to easily tell if the data is correct. So let's go to Angular material. And let's go to the component libraries. And I guess we'll just click straight through the components. And, you know, normally what I do is I go to ChatGPT first, but I really want to sort of go through this for some reason. I don't know why. This is in alphabetical order. So this is what we want. And so basically, this is the kind of table that we want to have. And well, I think one of the really nice things about this table is it's like very friendly to tabbing. It's kind of lying to me. Turning me into a liar right now. But I believe that when we're done, you'll be able to tab through these pretty easy. So we want something kind of like this. And so this is showing our basic usage is to make this a mat table. And I believe when I try to do that, it's going to break. It's going to say, I don't know what a mat table is. So let's go ahead and do this step by step. A lot of times, whenever you're working at when you're working like in an enterprise environment, what you do is you go find another example and you paste it in, and then you just kind of start from there. With these Angular material tables, that could be really challenging because a lot of times there's tons of other components baked in, and you end up with like just all kinds of bizarre transpilation errors that are hard to figure out because they're all layered on each other. So this time we're kind of going sort of from nothing to that. So I think when I hit this, basically it'll tell me, well, I was kind of expecting a red thing to tell me, like, I don't know what, oh, it's not going to do that because, so another way you could do this is you could actually say mat table. So write your mat table. I believe you can actually instead make the whole thing a mat table. And in that case, it will fail. But in this case, it does not because the TypeScript and the IDE don't look for these kinds of weird things. So we'll hit save and see what happens. Okay, so we don't have any kind of error. Everything looks good. But I think, when we go, you can click here and you can see the code, and we go to TypeScript. I'm guessing that, yeah, that we're going to do a material table module input. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. So let's see, how did they do their table? Let's go look at their HTML. Yeah, so they did it like this. I've seen other implementations where you do it like this. And then and I think both are perfectly fine. But the nice thing about this is it kind of gives you an error. To kind of tells you what your problem is. You know what your problem is. And then so I want to come in here and I want to import that. I did copy it, but then I copied something else, so we've lost it. So copy. And then I never know where to put this. And then, obviously at Google, they are not hung up on things like this, but a lot of places they are really hung up on white space. So, and then we hit save and see what happens. I don't know. So I guess it makes sense that nothing happened. So we just have a table and we put a Angular. So that's a directive. That would be an example of a directive. Now, it kind of seems like it's broken. So maybe it does break when you set the directive and then. Yeah, see, it's broken. Missing definitions for footer. Row cannot determine which column should be rendered. So, and I don't think that they give very good, like, advice or, like, this is pretty good, like, hit back, hit forward. Yeah. Like when you go through here, they do a pretty good job of like telling you, hey, you got to do a data, but they don't really sort of tell you like this pitfall. And this is kind of new for me, because I've never really done it this way before. But let's go ahead and use ChatGPT. So I'm working to implement a material table, and I added the mat table directive. I think that's the right word. Directive to a table. Now I am seeing this error in the console. And really all I'm doing is like, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm seeing. It was because it's missing the required definitions. Okay, so that is exactly what. So has required, and I like the fact that they added this word, that there's required definitions. And I kind of wish over here, like, and maybe it does, like maybe if I go to the API, it'll say, see, you'd think it would say something like, these are required definitions. And I think that would be a big help to sort of making mat tables a little easier to implement. But, I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to demystify this because, like, honestly, I've never, or every time I think, I don't know, never, but I think most of the time whenever I get mat tables working, I don't really have a good solid foundation, and I don't feel confident that I'm going to be able to do it. Like I don't know exactly what I did. I just get it working. And I would like, it's just such a common thing that it makes a lot more sense. So minimum required setup. Here's the minimum working example of an mat table. So I guess they're saying the data source is required. The mat column definition. So is that? So he doesn't say anything about column definitions. Mat ng container, mat column def. So this is my. So these are, I believe, will describe the rows. So like, and that's kind of another thing that makes, I think, Angular material tables different, just from a like a mindset perspective. Is like, you kind of, regular tables you kind of define in, like, you define the headers as a whole, and then you define the rows as a whole, and you kind of do them in order. See, here you create like a container and you define columns, and at the same time you define the data cell, which I think is a really good way to do it. It's just kind of like just different. And then here's where we did the header row, and here's define header and row structures. So this is where you define the headers, and I don't see the footer. And I felt like it said that it was upset about the footer not being defined. For header, footer, and row cannot be determined. But it looks like only header and footer are required. I mean, header and row. And it looks like we want to create our, is data source required? I wonder, is the data source required to prevent a console error? Okay, so you have to have a data source. So basically, we want to create a data source, and I think that our data source is API properties, and it is upset. Oh, okay. So that's a good one. So data source, since it's just like that, since it's just standalone, that means that the actual text in there is going to be passed in. So I don't know if I could do that. No, I was thinking maybe I could do that. I could tell it that it's an array. But if you want it to actually, this is in Angular in general, not just for material, but in Angular in general, if you want something to be bound to something that's in the TypeScript, you have to put brackets around it. And then that tells it, oh, go ahead and look in the TypeScript. Otherwise, without that, what it says is, this is the text I want you to use. Which sometimes you'll see that, because like a lot of times you just want to pass in a true or a false or a number or something like that, and it can figure out what it wants for a property. But this time it did not. So now what I want to do is, now that I've told it what the data source is, just for the learning processes, I want to hit save and see if it's still broken. Yeah, so it's still broken. And what are we seeing? So it's still the same error, header and footer. So the next thing we need to do is set up a header. So I feel like this is easier than looking in this. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the way they did it. I'm just saying that it seems a little easier. It is kind of the identical thing though. So like, if I call this, and I've got this thing, I don't know. No, let's look over here. Or is it identical? I think it might even be identical. This is the piece that I'm curious about. But anyway, so we're going to create an ng container. And our container, I guess, position is probably in their data. So that's one of the nice things about over here is it kind of show everything. See, position is one of the values in there. So in the data, your attributes. Now I have data attributes too. And my attributes are property and type. So we're going to get rid of this. And I believe it was ng container. And I believe ng container is what you use. There's two of them that I get confused with. I think ng container is what you use when you don't want to actually create a DOM element, when you're just trying to communicate some sort of information to the template rendering system, but you don't actually want it to create a DOM element. I believe that's what that's for. All right, so now let's go back to our HTML, and there's this. It says element equals element name. No, element position. So it's kind of wild. You would have thought that they would use this down here, but they don't. So this is our header. And I don't know if a header is required. I definitely want to try it without the header. And mat header cell, mat header def. I think we already have everything we need for these. And then for us, it's property. That's what we want to say in the header. And then over here, this thing is a property. Oh, God, I hate how I did that. Property. And then it's property dot property. I'm going to call this API property. I wonder if it could figure out what I'm... I don't know if it figured that out or if it was us. But so basically this is going to execute this code in line. I used to love that word. It's called, I don't know, but it's going to find that and print the property out. And I guess this is that. And I, in some ways they've completely gotten away from these little asterisks, but it looks like in some places we still have them. And I don't really know what that means. I have a feeling might have some, yeah, I don't know. I was going to say something to do with signals, but probably not. Okay, so we got nothing still. We got some kind of something somewhere though. Yeah, it just created like a big blank thing. Inspect console, same issue. All right, so it was the second piece of the pie. So this is the second column, so we're good with that. And then we have to define our header and row section structure. So that's kind of weird, header row. So there, I guess you're defining the columns and the data cells basically. And here you're defining the actual rows. And header row, display column. I don't even know what this display columns is. Oh, you know what? I think display columns. Yeah, this is a string. And so it's kind of interesting because like it doesn't. So now you don't have to put the brackets around it. You can, because I guess of this, I guess it's a directive, and since it's a directive, you don't have to put, I don't know why you don't have to do that. But it looks like we need an array of our columns. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go into our TypeScript, and we have two columns. We have our what is it? It's so weird. It should be so easy to figure out. But it's, I guess it's not easy to figure out because it's baked in this expected type. No. Oh, in API properties, it's baked in there. So if you go to that definition, we have property and type. And type is an expected type. So now our columns, let's see, table columns is display columns, and it is property and type, right? And then let's see. It sure would be nice if when you moused over here, it showed you the actual, yeah, property and type. It showed you the actual definition. So now we want to come back over here and we want to have this. And I guess this will define our header rows. And I don't know if it's going to give us two since we only defined one or what the deal is. But we will go ahead and do that in a momento. And I guess I want to see what it does now that I've defined the header, but I haven't defined the row. The header row I defined, but not the row. No row. It's a no row. It's kind of weird how it keeps going. Yeah, so same error. Could not find column with ID property. Okay, so it was very upset that it says it couldn't find the column with the ID property. Oof. It's upset. Was it capital P? Is that what the problem was? No. And we do have a column. Right? Define property. And then in our data, we definitely have a property. I don't know. I guess we should do the second piece next. Let's see where we're at. This is definitely like the sort of confusion that I always end up in. Displayed columns. So I could see it complaining about the type because we didn't create one of these containers. API property. So I think, okay, let's just hit save and see what happens. Inspect console. Yeah, so it's upset that it couldn't find the column with ID property. So what if I get rid of this and I just put question marks there? So like there's no telling, like, can you tell? Let me see, maybe you can. Get table unknown column error. So this is kind of thing that like I'll probably just historically will just randomly try stuff and then eventually like suddenly I don't have a problem anymore and then I just kind of move on with my life and I never figure out what the heck was actually calling it. Okay, so now I'm seeing this error. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this. So Okay, so it's saying that because it's listed in display columns, but there is no mat column def property. Wrong one. Mat. NG could. Oh, okay. So it's saying that I should have had this up in here. I have no idea how we didn't end up whenever we copy and pasted. Oh, if I hit undo, yeah, let's go back to that. And then Control V. Now what I'm hoping to see is that it's upset that the other one doesn't exist. Oh, that's good. That's so good. I love it when I can freaking predict what's going to happen. Yeah, let's just put this on multiple lines so I can comment it out. I think I can do that. Woo woo. Yeah, it's so easy. Material tables are so easy. Anyways, we did it, Rhett. All right, so now let's get our type going. Material type. Do I have an extra space in there? Oh my gosh, that would literally kill some of the people I've worked with in the past. Yeah, you know who you are. Type, and then type. No result. And then result. I don't know if result. Now that we've actually done it, I don't know if result is a great name or not. It looks like we are. I don't know. It's weird. Do we have? Oh, no. Did I not? Oh, I never. I don't know why I don't see my result. Oh, because it's off the page. Nope. Ooh. Okay, do we have an error in the console log? Nope. Did it? Result. Maybe it's. Well, I don't even see the header. Did I not create a header for it? So that's the header for type. Displayed columns, row columns. So why is it not showing my second one? Did I not save this change? Okay. Well, I think the main thing I wanted to make sure was that it would be easy to tell if I had. Yeah, so that looks good. And I do think that looks good. I don't know that the second table is doing us any good anymore. Oh, here we go. So basically what's happening is, what happened is for some reason it doesn't know. So there's my result. Okay, so I think that other table's not doing us any good anymore. So let's go ahead and get rid of it. Bye. Thank you for your service. You did a great job. Couldn't have done it without you. we're going to do instead is do this and see what happens if I just say API result. Oh, well, yeah, should we? Oh, wait. Well, who knows? Let's just think it is type. And let's just, for fun, just do the JSON type. That was my problem, not result. All right, so we have got our mat table going. We are 40 minutes into this thing, so I guess it's a good time to stop. Next time we will, and I do want to sort of let this sort of just setting up the tables, remembering that the one major problem, for some reason I did not, I think it was this piece I didn't do for some reason. I don't know why. Who's to blame here? Yeah, so yeah, they clearly did it there. Maybe I just deleted it. Maybe I have no one to blame but myself. Yeah, but in all cases, yeah, I guess I just deleted that for some reason. But that was the final piece that I was missing. There are just a lot of little things that can break. And yeah, it's just one of those things where you know there's so many things that can go wrong in the actual. There's just it's pretty fragile. You know, it's just a lot of moving parts. I would hope like that, you know, like it wouldn't just break if you didn't give it a data source. Like that it would say, okay, I just got an empty string, and that it wouldn't just break if you didn't give it a column def. And you know, just stuff like that. You know, like I wouldn't expect it just to just straight up break all the time. But it is beautiful. I mean, there's just no denying that it is absolutely gorgeous. And then like if you go in, yeah, so it gets completely skipped by the tab order, unfortunately. If you go and you look at the Angular material examples, there's just so many cool things, you know. So there's this, that's the basic thing. You know, like adding these sorts of things are fairly like pretty straightforward on doing that kind of thing. Shuffle. So like sorting is usually very, very simple to implement. Now I remember double sorting being an issue, like where you'd say, I want to sort by this, then this. I used to always have to manually do it, but this is kind of like something that would be really hard to roll on your own. And then, you know, a lot of places you'll have like forms and stuff in there, and that is very, very difficult. Yeah, here's the filtering, and if I remember, it's like a lot. It's pretty easy to implement, and you just see it all over the place. You know, you know, so many places. Yeah, this totaling stuff at the bottom is usually a lot easier to do, to set up in material than it would be to like to roll your own. It is kind of in a weird little spot in the industry in that like it's pretty good for this sort of thing, but then like much more than this, and then you're going to want to go to like an AG grid or something like that to to be able to do stuff, you know, like to be able to do more advanced things. So it is sort of in a, like a lot of times places will have regular tables, and then next thing they'll be like, oh, we're going to go material tables. And then they go a little bit farther and they're like, okay, we're going to use AG grid, or we're going to use one of the grids schemes that are out there, which there's two different sorts of concepts when people say grids. Sometimes they're talking about like layout and laying things out in an grid fashion. And then sometimes they're talking about basically like Excel in the browser. So that's always an interesting kind of thing. Like when you do an interview and they say, "Oh, do you have any experience with grids?" Um, if you just kind of assume one or the other and you're wrong, they think you're insane. They're just like, because I like, oh, um, so what was it? I think it was okay. So AG Grid, like if you look at AG Grid, it's pretty amazing. The stuff you can do with this sort of things, like this is a table and it's like real time data, like telling, I guess, what the US dollar or the 10-year is and whether it's going up and down, and gives you like these timelines and stuff, which is pretty darn amazing if you think about it. Um, but there's a lot more stuff too. Like you have all these little widgets and stuff, and you can do searching and totaling and stuff like that. So that is the grid. But then there's like a different kind of grid. Yeah, see, like this one was just absolutely amazing. You got all the ways to put like graphs right in there in line, and it's just crazy the stuff you can do with this one. But then there's another kind of grid. Um, let's see. I know of two kinds of grids in web. One is kind of like Excel, and the other is more of a layout. What is a big layout grid framework or API? Yeah, page structure. Yeah, so these are like the ones. Uh, like I know one can drag components around. On the page. Let me see if that's okay. Popular big, yeah, grid, React, golden layout. Golden layout, I've never heard of that. But yeah, this is something. Let's grid stack. Let's go ahead and do a quick search on golden layout grid. Demos. That was crazy to see. I don't know this. Oh yeah, see how you can sort of just drag these things around and all that, and that's the general idea. Yeah, you can just delete it and then it just automatically. So that's a big. Sometimes this is what they're talking about when they're talking about grids, and then sometimes they're talking about something like this when they're talking about grids. Um, but anyways, next time we're just going to add the the icons the in here on this side, and I think I'll call that a day. I don't think there's any reason to add searching or any other things, any things like that. And I don't know. I guess we could add styling. Um, so I think there's a really easy way in material table. Is there an easy way to alternate row colors? Yes. Yes. Um, ng class. I could have sworn there was an even one. Another way Angular Retail adds a class empty row there, so you can always write. So I don't know if you can do that within. If you might have to do this at the style level, not at the component level. Yeah, see, that did not work, but I have a feeling if I go to my styles, ST, and then kind of the nice thing about doing this here is that you end up with like it ends up working everywhere. I think I might have to restart it. Did not seem to work. Inspect. Let's go to our row. See, didn't. Maybe we have to restart the whole thing to get it to pick up styles.scss change. Oh, I do not like that at all. This has such a good strong chance of affecting other components, and you may not want that. Yeah, the global styles SCSS. And it's just, maybe it's too light. Maybe we just can't see it. I don't think so, though. Let's do it that. Wow, I thought that was going to be so simple. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I don't think restarting is going to fix it, but yeah, it did not. Inspect. So it's saying that I should have a matte row. Matte. See, it looks like it's not. It doesn't have a matte row. It has a matte MDC row. And this is another nightmare type of scenario. Yeah, that is the problem. So I don't know how committed like the Angular Material team is to never changing this style. So it could be that if you do if you do a lot of this, what could very well happen is they could change the styling, the name of the classes, and then if you do like a lot of sizing things, it could like be a complete disaster to your project. I have seen projects that could not get upgraded because they had so much done in there. So Matt Rose is not a class. Matt MDC row is. That is such a huge issue too. Yeah, see, I don't like this. I think that has been deprecated, but it's been deprecated literally since day one. They still haven't gotten rid of it. So I don't think it's going anywhere, but I have found that that can easily cause weirdly very, very strange bugs. Um, um, risk changed in the future, possibly preventing me from being able to upgrade. So yeah, I feel like that is probably would be a mistake to do this, especially in a in a professional environment. I do think that it's probably okay to do. Okay, so can I, based on the HTML. Well, so I guess what it makes more sense to do is add my own class, right? Like if I was working in a professional place, like, but see, this sort of requires that like everybody be on the same page. But so you end up having a meeting and you guys argue for hours on end, and it's fine. But like, it seems like what you want to do is you want to add your own class. So like this is uh, VP voice VAPI row. I think I can do this. And then we basically all have to get on the same page that we're all going to use this when we just make sure nothing's. Then I think, but that see the problem is now I don't think you can use the global style. This global styles because I think Angular breaks it down so that there's like special naming so that you don't get bleeding. So that doesn't do it either. I think for my purposes for this, I'm going to just do it on the TR. Since I only use tables where I use tables, but yeah, this can really be a nightmare scenario. And I have worked in places where this styles.scss has tens of thousands of lines of code in it. And trying to figure out what line of code is doing what is almost impossible. So I think what I want to do is this tr. See if that works. Yeah, so this would make, I think that worked. I guess I want to double check by trying something different. Yeah. See, so I think, so basically all table rows would, if I have another table in the application, it will also, let's see if we have one. Hello. And then see, it like changed it for this one too. So now all tables, and I think that's fine as long as you're not trying to use tables for your layout in general. It should be perfectly fine to do that. And then I guess we would do like th, and we kind of want that to be like a little darker. And I guess it would be like A, A, A. That's a bit much. And now, we got these weird spaces between it. I don't know. I think I liked it better before without any. So, anyways, that is that. I think we have conquered the material table dragon. I think if I ever have to do one again, I'll be much better positioned to find success. Like I said, I think all that's left on this is to get the icons in here so that we quickly see what we, if it's expected and found, like not trying to read this, but we can actually see it, and that'll be done, and we can move on to continuous, which should be quite interesting, I think. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.